Well, hello, it's Andrew again, and this is episode 45. Today we're considering Matthew 12, verses 46 to 50. We're carrying on in our series, and we picked the text up at Matthew 12, verse 46. While he was still speaking to the crowds, Jesus' mother and brothers were standing outside, wanting to speak with him. Someone told him, "Look, your mother and brothers are standing outside wanting to speak to you." But to the one who had told him this, Jesus replied, "Who is my mother? And who are my brothers?" And pointing to his disciples, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my mother and sister, is my brother and sister and mother." As with many of the words of Jesus, these can be interpreted for liberation or for bondage. All three synoptics tell this story. Mark, though, gives a little more background. My best reading of all the accounts suggests that this happened in or around Capernaum, right at the top of the lake. This has become Jesus' base of operations. It seems to have been the fishing port out of which the families of a number of his disciples operated and where they lived. And it's about as far away from Jerusalem as you can get while still having relatively ready access to the Holy Land and still living in it. The whole point of saying this is that it's very unlikely that he was near or at Nazareth, his family home. His family, Mary and others of Jesus' siblings, had travelled some distance around the shores of the lake to take charge of Jesus. The rumour of his activities had reached their home, and they believed that he was out of his mind. And you'll find that in Mark chapter 3, verses 20 to 22. It may be that they had Jesus' best interests at heart. It may be. It may also be that they felt a sense of shame and wanted to mitigate the possible future damage to the family's honour and reputation. So they came to take him away. They couldn't get near him. The throng of people come to encounter Jesus was so dense. But word was passed through the crowd that his family had come to visit with him. We might now understand Jesus' reluctance to rush out and greet them. And so Jesus redefines family. It is those who share a common commitment to fulfilling the will of the Father, he says. And it's true. That as followers of Jesus, we can meet brothers and sisters all over the planet on our travels, and with many feel an instant bond and connectedness. It's true. Yet we also need to be a little wary of absolutizing this in favour of our natural family. It's interesting to note, just as an aside here, that a large proportion of the early disciples are bound to Jesus through familial bonds. Take the time to research for yourself how they're connected to one another, and you'll see this to be the case. They are not an assortment of random individuals. They mostly come from families that are interconnected in some way and linked to Jesus. Even the forerunner, John the Baptist, as we know, is Jesus' cousin. And it doesn't stop with the apostles. 2 of the New Testament letters were written by Jesus' natural brothers, by James and Jude. They may have been part of this family. They may have been part of the family party that came effectively to arrest Jesus. It was in their encounter with the risen Christ, post his crucifixion and resurrection, that they, with Mary their mother, came to Jesus and relate to Jesus in a new way. This James also became the leader of the Jerusalem church. He succeeded Peter. And you can see that as the book of the Acts of the Apostles unfolds, the ascendancy of James in leadership and the lessening of Peter as he's almost squeezed to the fringes. Apparently, nepotism worked in the early church as well as it has in institutions throughout human history. So Jesus steps out of this and offers a new way to define family. It is those who share common values and aspirations. In this case, the Christian family can be defined as those who share as children of God in a desire to fulfill God's will. Unfortunately, this is also the ground for the formation of cults. Those groups that would separate people from their natural families to follow the rules, leadership, dictates and demands of this new family. And they often call themselves families or communities. And unfortunately, people who join while feeling the warmth of belonging and to something greater in a common struggle often pay a huge price. They lose their individuality and independence in service to the common cause, often identified and ruled over by a small team or charismatic leader that uses the followers to serve their own needs. The leadership ultimately leads to its own gratification. It may be dressed up in fine-sounding words. The evidence and the facts will often say otherwise. And this perhaps points to a new and more life-giving definition of family. Family is that place where we are encouraged into the fullness of our humanity, where the greatest desire is that each become all we can be, even at some cost to the family itself. This is not done in a pushy way. It is not motivated by the fear of shame of failure. You know, that place where we're reluctant to mention a family member we regard as an embarrassment. Nor is it motivated by the desire for status, vicariously conferred on the wider family by the success of the individual. Those ones we want to parade before the world because they add to our sense of value. Rather, it's motivated only by the Christ kind of love, that which seeks the highest and best good of the other, even at the possibility of some cost to the lover. Jesus' mission is defined in John 10:10. I've come that you might have life and have it in all its fullness. It's in true family, where ego and shame are put aside, where a deep yearning for the highest and best good is lived out. This can be in our biological families or in constructed families. It probably doesn't really matter too much. That's it for today. I've had a number of distractions, so I've made this interesting. So God bless you all.